Everywhere that we go, he makes people laugh and makes people smile, and I feel like I have that quality.
He's the one who always takes me fishing.
I watch golf with him.
I watch him cook, because when I grow up, I want to be a cook too.
We have the same faces like this.
Dad is the one, when you fall, that picks you up.
That unconditional sense of presence and reassurance is really what makes him my father.
Listen up, Cleveland. Listen up, Cleveland.
Welcome to Listen Up Cleveland. I'm your host, Leah Haslage. Preserving the history of Cleveland and its residents is important, and no place does it better than Western Reserve Historical Society's Cleveland History Center.
The Western Reserve Historical Society was founded in 1867, so we are approaching our 150th anniversary. We started just after the end of the Civil War, and as you can imagine, it's a lot of time to accumulate a lot in the attic. We have a great diverse collection located at 5 locations across 4 counties. I'm the director of the Cleveland History Center, where we are today in University Circle, and our job is to tell the story of Cleveland. The Historical Society's mission is to inspire people to explore the American experience by seeing the tangible history of Northeast Ohio, and so we help relate that story and place Cleveland's into the national stage and the local stage, telling the local story as well. We've acquired things from families, we've acquired things through purchase, we've acquired things through loans that have come through other institutions, and then they turn into gifts. So there's a variety of ways that we can't take everything, and there are, after this many years, there are duplicates. Some think that they have something that's one of a kind, and while it's a treasure to a family, it may not be something that's a good fit. We have a very strong focus on our collection to make sure that it's relevant to the institution, and that we can be good stewards. We have to be able to have a place where we can preserve it, protect it, take care of it. So we can't unfortunately take everything, but what we do take is well cared for.
The preservation of thousands of artifacts and the architecture of the building is showcased in a series of specific areas throughout the museum.
We're in the Crawford Auto Aviation Museum here as part of the Cleveland History Center. It was actually began in 1963 as a gift from Frederick C. Crawford. He started collecting earlier in 1936 with his first purchase that was rescue from the Great Lakes Exposition. He donated it to the Western Reserve Historical Society in 1963. We named it after him, Frederick C. Crawford, and it became what is today over 140 automobiles automobiles. In addition, we have airplanes, we have motorcycles, we have a boat, we have multiple boats, we have trucks, and then we also have what's called a MARC files. It's a large collection of documents, advertisements, manuals that are within our library archives, where if one's doing restoration on their car and they want to know, their antique car, and they want to know more about it, they can possibly find the owner's manual, the original owner's manual in our library. So there's a lot of history, both large artifact history like behind me in these really cool cars, or there's the history of just the maintenance and the advertising, the sales and the business of the auto industry in Cleveland. At one point, we were the leader in automotive industry, and the story that we tell in the Crawford on the main floor is setting the world in motion. Everything that's in this exhibit are representations of things that were made in Cleveland. We do tell the full story of the automobile in America on the lower level in our exhibit called Revolution, and it shows the evolution of the automobile over time, both in design, in fuel innovation. We have early stainless steel, early electric vehicles. It's not a new thing. We just keep trying to do the same thing better, and we do get better at it, but we can see how things have changed over time through the collection that we have. And then we also have a preservation facility in Macedonia. We don't have the space to showcase all of our collection. Only about half maybe is on display here, and then we do our preservation and restoration work at our facility down there. It's the Euclid Beach Carousel. It's the original carousel from Euclid Beach Park, which closed in 1969. And now it's alive, it's operating, and so anyone can ride it that comes to visit the museum. We opened it last November, and it has been a blast. We see riders every day of all ages. Some remember Euclid Beach Park. They rode on it at Euclid Beach Park. We actually have a volunteer that works in some days helping us with spotting guest safety. He was an operator of the carousel back in the 1960s, and he's here working with us today, which is exciting. There's 58 horses on this carousel. 54 are original from the Euclid Beach Carousel, which closed in '69. So it's exciting to have so much of this rich history that people can still experience today that maybe didn't get to see it back then, and it will go on in perpetuity. If you have children, and sometimes it's hard to go through a museum without touching, we do have some hands-on activities. So we have a reproduction of a Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell was one of the boats that was a boat that sailed across the Atlantic in 1965, so 50 years ago this summer. And we have a reproduction of that boat, so anyone could get inside and see what it was like to be in this confined space across the Atlantic for months. We have a family interactive space called Kids Exhibits, where kids can get their hands on history. They can build a Cleveland after looking at some images of what Cleveland used to look like. They can shop at the West Side Market. They can learn how we have cooked, how the way we have cooked has changed over time by cooking over a fire versus a coal stove versus a stove, and then of course we all love the microwave. They can look at how seeing has changed over time, lighting has changed over time. They can see what it was like to only see things at night by campfire, and then by candlelight, by kerosene lamp, and then of course we all love the light bulb. So I'm really happy to have those conveniences of modern technology, and kids can see how much that means to us today by experiencing a little glimpse of the past. We're working to develop a core experience that will encompass a broad story look at Cleveland history, and one segment of that will talk about sports. We have a vast collection, one of the big collections in our research center, where we look at sports history in Cleveland. We have things on the Browns, on the Cleveland Indians, and that's one of the many community histories that we keep in the library. Our research library also collects the ethnic histories and the ethnic stories of Cleveland. We have a Jewish archives. We have an Italian American archives. We have Irish American, African American, and a lot of these things we rotate through the exhibits we do at the History Center, but also within the community. We have exhibits in Little Italy talking about that. We have a lot of our Jewish American art collection is at the Maltz Museum of Jewish Heritage. We have collections that are partnered in downtown, showcased in areas down there, in different offices in City Hall. So we do a lot to tell the story of the people of Cleveland. We have a costume collection, which is tens of thousands of garments, and then not only garments but accessories. We have hats and handbags and jewelry and shoes and shoes and shoes. It's really cool. Right now the exhibit is in grand style. It's a look at the costume collection from the late 1880s into the early 1900s, very much that Downton Abbey thing that so many people relate to. But all of the costumes are exclusively from our collection, and they were worn by women here in Cleveland. Not all designs from Cleveland. Some are French designs, high-end designs from New York, but they were purchased there and brought back here and worn by families that lived here. There are two houses that are original to our property. There's the Bingham Hanna House and the Hay McKinney Mansion. The Hay Mansion is a gem that is open to the public to see anytime they come to visit. It is originally built in 1911 by the architect Abram Garfield. Abram Garfield was the son of James Garfield. The house was commissioned to be built by Mrs. Clara Stone Hay. Mrs. Hay was the widow of John Hay, the secretary to Abraham Lincoln. So Mrs. Hay lived in D.C. She wanted to come back to live in Cleveland to be close to her sister Flora Stone Mather. Unfortunately, she decided never to move to Cleveland, and the house stayed empty. She never moved in. Instead, her family sold the house to Price McKinney, who was president of Corrigan McKinney Steel. And he and his wife and their 3 children lived in the Hay House for about 7 years, and then they left, and the house stayed vacant until it was sold to the Western Reserve Historical Society in 1938. So we've lived there longer than any other resident, and it's been a really great home for us. We acquired then the Bingham Hanna House in 1942, and then in the 50s and 60s we built wings that connected the two houses. We added on the Crawford, we added on the Research Center and the Costume Wing, so now one can visit this 8-acre complex that we call the Cleveland History Center without ever stepping outside. In the Hay House, you can see what it was like to live in the early 20th century. You can see where the servants lived, where the kitchen, the original ice box. You can see the floor plan of the house and the call box where if the family wanted something, you could push the button and they knew where to go within the house. You can see the bedrooms. Not all of the bedrooms are decorated with the original furnishings. Much of the furnishings went with the family. So what we do today is showcase our decorative arts collection with sculptures and paintings and things from Tiffany and different furnishings from different periods of prominent Cleveland families. So much of it was from families that lived at that time, but not all from the family that lived there. So each mansion, the Bingham Hanna Mansion and the Hay McKinney Mansion, came with a garden, and beautiful gardens, and his stonework that was part of that garden, and fountains and plantings, and they were very lush, intricately designed, intimate gardens that now are available for the public to host wedding ceremonies, cocktail parties. Just about every weekend from May through October, we have at least one wedding ceremony. There was a day I did 4 wedding ceremonies in one day. It was challenging. The brides were coming and going, but we did it and everyone was happy. We do rent our spaces for private events. We have a number of spaces, not just the gardens, but with the gardens come an indoor space in case of rain, so you don't have to worry about the expense of a tent. We do have the large Crawford Rotunda where I'm sitting now. It's our largest flexible space where we can host cocktail parties for up to 1,000 people if you don't have everyone sitting down, or as intimate as 24 people. And the beauty of this space is that it's not square and you don't feel like you're in a corner. It's a very intimate setting where you can have the cars be a part of the experience or just a beautiful backdrop, and you can have whatever decor fits your need for your event. Western Reserve Historical Society operates the Cleveland History Center. It operates Hale Farm and Village, which is an outdoor living history museum depicting early 19th century living in Northeast Ohio, and that's located in Bath Township. We have our preservation facility in Macedonia. And then we have Shandy Hall, which is one of the earliest settlements out in Geneva. And then we have an early log cabin called Loghurst, and it's in Canfield, Ohio.
For a more in-depth look at the artifacts and the history of our great city, educational programs are offered throughout the year.
All of our programs are open to the public. Some are free with admission, some have an additional fee depending on the nature of the program and the cost that it takes for us to put it on. But anytime we can keep the cost affordable and invite the entire community, we like to do that. All of our programs are available online at wrhs.org, and some require advanced reservation, others just come in and enjoy it. You know, a lot of institutions say we have something for everyone, and I really feel that we can deliver on that promise. We have the carousel that every person needs to ride. We have the Crawford that people can enjoy with the car collection. The Cleveland story that everyone that's a resident can enjoy. We can create the sense of place for people that live in this community, and we can create the sense of pride in bringing others here to see what we're all about. The costume collection, the historic Hay McKinney Mansion, Bingham Hanna Mansion, so much to see and do, and for one price you have access to all of this great history.
As you can see, no visit to University Circle is complete without touring the Western Reserve Historical Society Cleveland History Center. For times and tickets, visit wrhs.org. Thanks for watching Listen Up Cleveland. I'm Leah Haslage.
Slightly sporadic, but damn near a masterpiece. 'Cause you switch so flawlessly.